In this video, sponsored by the makers of Rise of Kingdoms, we're going to be going over the talents that are in the Smite talent tree. And we know that we've seen some of these talents before around the outside, courtesy of the makers of Rise of Kingdoms, but I got this information from a Mr. Siege video. He got the information from an Ihara video, and so here we are. Now we've got the information to share with you. So let's get a look talent by talent to see what is here. Then we'll talk at the very end about a few ideas for builds. And I think there really is one talent point in this tree that's insane. We've already seen it, but we'll go over all of them, all right? So the first thing you get here is 0.5% of attack for all troop types. Then you get 1.5% defense, 3 points total. So 0.5% per point. Now, 9 rage per basic attack. This is very similar to the skill tree we have today. All right, nothing too crazy yet. 0.5% of health and 2 points here, 3% of march speed per point. Now we get to something interesting. 6% increased smite damage, but at the cost of 6% increased normal attack damage taken. I really wish this was more symmetric, like it was just 6% more normal damage dealt, which would include smite damage, right? And also 6% normal damage received. I think this is probably best for a garrison that you think is not getting swarmed. So, or a rally that's not getting swarmed, but rallies are just generally more likely to get swarmed. But an example will be like a pass. If you put this in a pass and it's just getting single rallied, even if it's getting multi-rallied, I mean, this could be worth depending on the combination. I would want to study this more and really like test this, but this feels very symmetric to me to the skill tree that we already have today. And it's unsurprising. It's in the same spot we have the skill tree, right? So we'll talk more about this one in a little bit. All right, we'll come back to it. From there, you get 0.5% of attack, I believe, for 1 point. And keying back a little bit further here, there's 3 talent points that you can put here. Increase smite damage dealt. So 1% more smite damage dealt per point. Very, very similar to the skill tree. Does something with skill damage. All right. Now this one we've seen before. Every time something is hit with a smite damage source, they lose 45 rage. I really would love to test this to see if area of effect damage is hitting all the targets, or if there's some sort of internal cooldown, or if it's only the main target. But like, if I can AoE with Liu Che and every single target is losing 45 rage, that's absolutely disgusting. Like, this is the best talent in the game, possibly, if it works that way. We're gonna have to look into the details, and we'll talk more about this, because we already knew how this one worked. We got that information before. From here, within 6 seconds of using an active skill, all smite damage is increased by 6%. This is so similar to the skill tree, it's crazy. And like, I think it's fine that it is similar to the skill tree. Like, if this was dramatically different than the tools we had available today, then there's the potential that this is just really broken and other things aren't even viable options at that point. From here, you can get a total of 1% defense, 0.5% per point. Here you can get 3% counter attack, okay, 1% per talent point applied. Here you can get 0.5% of defense, 0.5% of attack, 0.5% of health. Looks like you can get 1% of defense for 2 talent points here. But that is all the stuff that we didn't yet know about. Let me jump over to the information that was already provided to us by the makers of Rise of Kingdoms to just refresh you on the remaining talents in the Smite tree. All right, so as a reminder, we talked already about Fight or Flight, which whenever this commander's troop deals any type of smite damage, all troops hit by the damage lose 45 rage. That is disgusting. That is so good. All right. Now, all the way in the bottom, number 1, to the bitter end, every 10 seconds after this commander's troop enters a battle, it gains 2% bonus to all types of smite damage. That's definitely like very good for a rally garrison situation. I think it could also be okay for the open field, but the reality is you will often leave combat. Thick Skin. This commander's troop takes 6% less skill damage. Actually, that's pretty good. I like Thick Skin. That's a good one. And then Thunderous Smite, right over here, number 4. Whenever this commander's troop deals any type of smite damage, there is a 30% chance the damage will be increased by 10%, which is fine. I wonder what the internal cooldown is on this. Usually skills have, or talents have, some sort of internal cooldown, and when they don't, there's the room to break them, which that's what I'm here for. But this means that, in my estimation, one of the best paths on this tree is very simply to get this talent number 3 over here, Fight or Flight, which is about 19 talent points worth of goodness. In fact, if I just draw on this to make it a little more clear, right? Like this branch for about 19 talent points seems really good. Just dropping another 3 talent points over here seems really good. We know this same talent, the one that makes it so you do more skill damage after using an active skill, is much deeper in the talent tree or the skill tree. One thing I noticed was a big lack of march speed. If I were to be critical of the Smite tree, I wonder if one of the talents that we hadn't seen gives more march speed, because if the only option for march speed was like, well, where was that? Like here-ish? 2 points, 6%. That would be a bit of a bummer if there's not that much march speed. And I do also really like this talent over here, obviously, right? 3 talent points, 6% less skill damage taken. Pretty good, although it's not going to mitigate smite damage, but we already have that problem with things that reduce skill damage taken, right? And theoretically, smite damage will just become more and more common over time as a part of like what it means to be in the open field. Let's just go compare to what we have in the infantry tree and talk about what I think a couple potential talent builds might be. So as a quick refresher for what we have in the skill tree today, there's this talent over here, Naked Rage, where the troops commander deals 6% more skill damage, but also takes 6% more skill damage, which is why I was surprised that one talent red deals 6% more smite damage, but takes 6% more normal attack damage. I kind of get why you wouldn't want to make it deals more smite damage and takes more smite damage, because there's so few things that deal smite damage today. You'd always take that talent. It seems very good if it worked that way. But if it works as the way it was described, deals more smite damage, takes more normal damage, if you get swarmed at all, like you're really kind of getting wrecked with that talent. Also, I mentioned earlier, we have this talent that's very similar to Clarity with the way that it works. Clarity makes it so when you use an active skill, you get 6% bonus to all types of skill damage for 6 seconds. So a fast rage cycle is very, very important. And the weirdness of the Smite tree is there was not a fast rage cycle, which actually kind of sucks. Like you might almost just, and obviously the skill tree you don't want because we're not doing skill damage, but you almost would rather just have this rage for feral nature. So you'll be looking for other ways to gain rage. I mean, William could buff your march with rage. Trajan could buff your march with rage. But things that give your Smite commander rage, if they have the Smite tree, could be very, very valuable. If we just jump down here real quick, we just hit reset, we can just go talk about the total number of talent points that we wanted to set aside for that insane AoE rage reduction ability. So if I click on this real quick, we can see it's 16, it will be 17, it would be about 18 talent points. So it's about the same as going to Rejuvenate, to go and get that one talent that I think is really crazy. I think you want to put another 3 into there potentially to go and, just get yourself the equivalent of this bad boy, the Clarity talent. So you're looking at like 21 or so talent points that we probably want to commit to the Smite talent tree, if not more. So if we did that, I mean, gosh, you just go in. Yeah, so you can actually do a lot with the infantry talent tree and still get the most important points in the Smite tree. It's actually very easy to do. That is surprising. And if you were to do the full Smite tree and you were to say, well, now I want to go back to the infantry tree and get some goodness, I think you'd absolutely want to get Undying Fury. I think some people will feel like they can skip Iron Spear, but I personally really like to pick this up. But if you had to. And then I really feel like Hold the Line is an amazing thing to pick. When you have only infantry, whenever you're hit with a basic attack, you have a chance to take less damage. That's huge. That is so powerful. So there's a solid amount of talent points in the infantry tree that I'd really want to get. In fact, because we know that this tree down over here for the Smite tree is not going to have much march speed, you'd really want to swing to the right of this tree as well. And you can get 2 points, 6% over here, 2 points, another 6% over there, and 3 points more over there. So you may end up having to carve off some of the left side of the tree and making a choice to get the march speed. But once we've got our hands on this and it's in game, we'll go and do some testing. I've started to see some potential test results that look really crazy for, the new commanders and the Smite Talents, but we'll cover that way more in depth once we can get our hands on that and really use it ourselves, I always like to test as soon as stuff lands in game, whether it's on my main account or it's on my restart account. Both of them are in the same kingdom now, and both of them are infantry accounts. So between the two of them, I'm going to be maxing out both of these commanders the second they land in game, and we'll live stream and test it out. And if you're looking for my predictions on the new infantry commanders, check the cards here and here. Pretty powerful stuff. I think they're going to be really good.